Hi and welcome to today's track guide at Zolder using the email freight Jaguar G3. First of all, start off with giving yourself a nice clean exit and run out wide to the curbing. Okay, for the first corner you want to brake a couple car lengths before this banner, and you don't want to brake too hard. You want to trail brake enough to get the car to the apex of the corner. You might need to coast a little bit to keep the car stable, and then once you get past the apex you can start easing on the throttle again and run out wide to the curbing. Make sure you don't go too far into the sand. Okay, and then we come straight back to the left and brake just after the sand pit on the left begins and just before the Pirelli sign on the right. And again we trail brake to get to the apex of the corner, and as soon as we get past it we ease on the throttle. This one you got to be careful to not slam on the throttle or you're going to get some wheel spin and probably spin the car. So ease it on, and then after this you can put your foot flat for a little while. Now for this right hander you want to brake just after the off-road on the left and slowly move towards the inside of the circuit with trail braking, maybe even coast or put the throttle on a tiny bit to keep this car stable. Right along the inside curbing, not too far onto it, and ease on the throttle and eventually make yourself to the outside of the curbing on the left of the track and put your foot flat for the straight. And next we move on to probably the hardest corner of the circuit. It's very hard to get right, and there's probably two ways of doing it. You can either take it safe, which means you brake a little later and turn in a little bit later, or you can just go full into it and just chuck yourself over the curbing and hope you don't spin out. So first of all you want to brake a few meters or a couple car lengths after the 100 meter board, and you want to turn in just after this cone on the left and make sure you don't hit it because that will be cutting it. And if you survive this curb, then you just aim straight at the next curb and ease your throttle on, and once you land, hopefully you haven't been spun around yet, but then you put your foot flat again and you're off to the next corner. Now this one's very hard and doesn't always go the right way. I often get spun out here, but obviously you can brake a little later and just avoid the bumpiest part of the curbs to get through here safely, and I'm sure you won't lose too much time, but if you can throw yourself through the curbing like this you can gain a bit of time. So yeah, on to the next corner. Now this chicane you can gain a lot of time on if you get it right. Basically after this long left-hander you start braking as the road straightens out, and these cones on the chicane, these are your track limits, so don't hit the cones or you'll get an invalid lap. Now when coming into the first part of the chicane, don't turn too early because there's a bit of a bump and it will straighten you out and throw you onto the sand pit on the left. So you want to turn a little bit late, but make sure you get right next to that cone, and then hopefully that didn't pull you too far to the right. Then straighten up and instantly turn to the left, narrowly avoiding the next cone, and then ease the throttle on very slightly to get yourself to the next right-hander, which I take first gear through. And you probably don't want to take this corner flat because you'll risk spinning the car, but run wide to the curbing on the left, and this following right-hander you can take flat. Sometimes you might not want to as your tyres will become pretty slippery, you don't want to run too wide. But you can take this flat, just make sure you turn enough and don't go too close to the inside as you might hit some bumps. Run out wide to the curbing again, and then we move on to the next corner. Now this one's not too hard unless you brake too late and push yourself off the course, but brake before the 150 meter board and pretty much just as the time marks start, and you can trail brake right into this corner, go right onto the curbing, ease the throttle carefully, don't let the traction control kick in too much, run out onto the curbing, don't go onto the grass, and now we move on to the final two corners of the track. Now here you want to brake about a car length after the 100 meter board, and not turn too early because you might hit this bump and it'll push you too wide and force you to take a tight line for the last corner. So don't cut into the first part of this corner too much, but do so enough that you give yourself a nice line for the last corner. And for the last corner, don't cut the corner too much again. Don't go over the curbing too much, maybe coast a little bit and ease the throttle on, run wide to the curbing, don't let the wheels spin up, and then put your foot down to get to the finish line. I hope you enjoyed this track guide, and be aware that the track lines and braking points may vary a little bit between the cars. Straight off the bat I found the Jaguar and the BMW to be the quickest around here. The Lambo and the Ferrari were okay, the Ferrari being the slower car, but they don't like the bumps as much and struggle a little bit. I haven't tried the Bentley, but I definitely found the Jaguar and the BMW to be the quickest straight away. With a bit of setup work you could probably get the other cars to be fast as well. But anyway, thanks for watching, leave some suggestions in the comments and see you next time.